Welcome to Koi's Corner, a channel for personal and spiritual growth. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment letting me know why. I get many questions very often on what the differences are between Buddhism and Hinduism, and if it matters, why it matters, and how we can use them to discover which philosophy and which religion fit best for our practices, and how we can take what we need from them to help embrace our path and grow from within in a way that we might not have been able to access before. So today we'll be talking about Buddhism versus Hinduism and the differences between the two as well as similarities. Now, I for one am a major advocate for both of these philosophies, especially when we're diving into the nature of self and finding spiritual practices that help us understand our place here amongst the stars. But to begin, we have to understand that Buddhism grew out of Hinduism, the same way that a branch grows off of a tree. It might appear different, it might seem different, but the majority of it, and the majority of Buddhism, very deep-rooted areas of Buddhism, are identical to those in Hinduism. So if you are practicing Buddhism or practicing Hinduism, or interested in one versus the other, it's nice to know that both philosophies share a lot of commonalities versus their many differences. So to begin, let's start with where Buddhism and Hinduism do see eye to eye. Both of them do agree, using different linguistics and terms, that in essence, suffering is caused by clinging, that we do suffer due to the delusion of our limited temporal nature in Maya, in this illusory reality that we are limited, that we want things to be a certain way because we cannot let go, because we cannot learn to see the true nature of what we are. And to release our addiction with this ego self, we suffer. But they agree that there's a way out of this suffering. And when we attain this way out, we have in Buddhism attained enlightenment or nirvana, whereas in Hinduism we have attained moksha. Now, going along with this, they both also agree loosely in the idea of reincarnation. They might disagree with the idea of a soul or no soul in Buddhism, known as anatta, but essentially they agree that we are stuck in a cycle of samsara, in a cycle of life and death, pain and suffering, so long as we do not awaken to our true nature. And that is why we are here now in this space where we might suffer, but we have the opportunity to use these philosophies and these practices to release ourselves, to liberate ourselves from the bondage of the illusions and ignorance we currently live within the manifolds of. Another major agreement of the core philosophies of Hinduism and Buddhism is the basis on understanding and finding real resilience, real faith in the empirical, in what we can see and feel and what we can know here, and using that as a gateway to liberation beyond the idea of name and form as reality. And both religions agree we can do this through a few philosophies and methods. A major one between the two being meditation, using insight, using meditation to quiet the ego, to quiet the conception, the perceptions of what we think reality is, silencing the mind and allowing us to enter a space of dhyana, or single-pointed focus, where the ego disappears and true nature reveals itself. And when this happens, we liberate ourselves from suffering. We become Jivan Muktas in Hinduism. We become Buddhas in Buddhism. We are free from the bondage of this worldly life because we are constantly now aware of its non-existence and of our true nature. So keep in mind, this is me really condensing some of the commonalities. Now, depending on the sect or philosophy of Hinduism or Buddhism, they might have differences there, but the overall practices, the overall understanding of the religion do have these notions in mind for the most part. But this is about as far as many of the similarities go before they start to have fundamental differences. So let's talk about those differences. Major difference between Buddhism and Hinduism in my mind is that Buddhism is virtually completely agnostic, which is to say, in Buddhism, there is no focus on the soul. They call it anatta, no soul. And so with God, it's the same thing. The idea of afterlife, of heaven and hell, of God in any form. Not only do they not think it exists, but they don't care even if it does exist. They say we are here and now. We are illusorily, we are stuck in suffering because we cannot let go. We cannot just be with reality as it is and enjoy this experience by living a right life, a compassionate life. We are focused on the idea of gods and things like that, and that takes us out of practice. So they don't care if there is a God or not. They go as far as to say it does not matter if there is a God or not, there's a heaven or hell or not. We are here now. Let us focus on what we are doing here and now, so that we can truly awaken, because that's what matters. Whereas Hinduism is polytheistic monism, which means that Hinduism has many different gods, many faces, Ganesha, the remover of obstacles, many different complexions and symbolisms to represent them. And these gods represent aspects of humanity, of us, of our reactions and interactions, and in areas of life in which we need to grow or improve or dedicate ourselves to or let go. But these are all faces of oneness, of allness, beyond the idea of God, beyond polytheism in monism, known as Brahman, allness. So in Hinduism, at its true Vedantic core, allness is what we are. We are Brahman, Tatvamasi. You are that. You are all of reality. You are just manifested in a singular point of consciousness as a human, and because of that, you think you are just this body or just this mind or just your memories, but in reality, you are all of it. That oneness is you. And that is extremely important to know in Hinduism compared to Buddhism, because that is what Hindus say helps you awaken to your true nature. Not denying the reality of God, but knowing that you are the totality of divinity here and now. That is inspiration enough. And if you'd like to know more about Hinduism and Buddhism in full, I have a few playlists up here which you can click and watch. Another primary difference is in the philosophies they practice. Buddhism follows the Eightfold Path, which is essentially the path of compassion. By acting compassionately, thinking compassionately, speaking compassionately, doing things compassionately, we come to a state of purity, and in that purity we can transcend into nirvana and let go of suffering. Whereas in Hinduism, they believe in using one of four, if not multiple modes of yoga, or attaining union with God through service, through devotion, through acting for others, through devoting yourself to the deities, through learning intellectually all that you can about this philosophy until it clicks, or through meditative practice, fully ingraining yourself in the moment as much as you can. You often see the Hare Krishnas, which are bhakti yogas, and practice the devotion of loving Krishna as it helps them eradicate their ego and awaken to truth. So this is the major difference between the two. Buddhism says, no, just act like a good person and it'll help you awaken. Whereas Hinduism says you have to dedicate yourself to attaining union through a certain path specifically, or merging two of them so that you can come to know what is versus what is not. This is why many see Buddhism as much more stoic. It stays away, from the most part, from the celebrations and the rituals and the cultural ideas outside of the cultures that do exist and have them. But at the philosophical core, it says, look, all those colors, all that pizzazz, all those ideas and conceptions, those don't matter. To alleviate yourself from suffering, you have to be in this moment, acting purely and letting the ego go. Doing all the other stuff doesn't help you. And Hinduism disagrees. Hinduism is very colorful, very active, very devotional. It says the more you think of these things, the more life in general is colorful, is abundant with these deities and their representations, the more your mind will be focused on truth, and therefore help you grow even on a subconscious level of every single day, so long as you keep up your sadhana or your practice. Liberation isn't attained by isolating yourself and becoming stoic and almost robotic. It is attained by loving everything and seeing everything as Brahman incarnate, as this God nature incarnate. Because when you see all of it as that one, you release the ego as well, noticing that you are the one too, or the one also. This is why Hinduism often promotes gurus, following teachers, devoting yourself to them, because they again are God just as you are, and since they have an understanding of that, they can help you, they can assist you. Whereas in Buddhism, they go, no, you really don't need that nearly as much as you think, just go within. Another major difference is that Buddhism promotes the middle way, not too much of a renunciate, but not a hedonist. Just find peace in the middle, live purely compassionately, normally, and you will start to suffer less so long as you follow the Eightfold Path. Whereas Hinduism views life through the four permissibles, saying, look, you can, as you're growing in life, have a family, take care of them, acquire wealth, enjoy the sense experiences, and then once you have had your worldly fill, renounce everything, drop it all, since you've had that experience, and attain realization, seeing that that wasn't the end of the line, that your desires kept going in that world, so that when you see that, you can return to renunciation, devote yourself fully to awakening, and do so. And finally, the biggest idea and the biggest difference is that Buddhism negates and throws away the idea of infinite consciousness. Buddhism doesn't believe in one infinite conscious reality that is Brahman. They think, look, life just is in a near existential way. We're just here. Don't know how, don't know why, don't care, but I do know that I don't want to suffer, and because of that I will follow the Eightfold Path, and through that I will awaken, I will liberate myself, I will attain nirvana. And yet in Hinduism they say you are the all incarnate, the unmoving is within you, the knower of the known, the object watching the life go by is there, that unending consciousness, that pure consciousness, the same as when we are in deep sleep, the unchanging aspect of there-ness, of truth, of your reality, as all of it is what you are. You are that divinity here and now. And you can realize that you aren't just this limited self, but the whole self through all of these practices. But that absolute consciousness is reality, and that bodies are just vessels for that absolute divine nature. And that's really the core major aspects and differences between Hinduism and Buddhism that I thought would be important to share with you guys and help you understand them on a deeper level, using them to practice and grow as well. If you have any questions or comments on Buddhism or Hinduism, please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave those down below. I would love to do my best to answer them. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Ram Ram.